Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Serious Strategy Gamer and we are returning to our Let's Play of Rule the Waves 2 as the United States. We've just redesigned a couple of our ships in our starting fleet, including one of our battleships that is now going to be the USS Michigan, our first light aircraft carrier, so I'm very excited about that one. But until we get there, let's start the game. Actually, I do want to go into the actual gameplay over here and talk a little bit about that. We have to do a couple of things first. So firstly, let's go through our destroyer classes over here and have a look at those, because I've noticed that these guys, I was just wanted to redesign them in between the episodes, but I did notice that, guys, just look at that, they're seriously overweight. So this is a ship of 600 tons, and it already, or a design designation of 600 tons, and it's currently sitting at 660 tons almost, so that's 10% overweight, and I really just don't think it's worthwhile to upgrade these. I think it's just way too... These ships will be flimsy. The first light damage will cause them to founder, so I think these guys, we will immediately more or less delete them and even sell them for scrap, because I think they're not not going to be worth it. And these Whipple class ships, I think, do have a very similar problem. So if we do look at those, they are 900 tons designated and they are 73 tons overweight. So again, I just don't think these ships can be saved. They are past their time. So let's sell these guys for scrap, and that's going to be fine. That does save us some monthly balance, but not too much. Right, other than that, we have put up a couple of our ships on foreign station as designated by this over here, so they will make their ways to our colonies and show the flag there. This is something that you do need to do, otherwise you'll lose prestige. And of course prestige is what this game is all about. Right. We are way over our budget. We would be running out of budget within about 5 turns if we go on like this. We would of course finish a couple of constructions first, but these are not the most expensive ones. So what I would rather like to do is send a couple of ships to reserve or even mothball situation. So let's go through our ships over here, especially the most important and expensive ones. So I think the first ones that we do want to have a look at are the battle cruisers. So the Rochester class, I'm actually fairly happy about those. They only have 12-inch guns and only 8 of those in a broadside, so it's not really that great, but they're fairly fast. They have decent belt armor, even if the deck armor is a little bit lacking, and the turret armor is actually lower than the belt armor, which I hate. But all in all, they're not bad. They're okay ships. On the other hand, the San Diego class, really not. They only have 6 guns. 6 11-inch guns. That's very bad. They have very bad armor. Even their speed isn't that great. So honestly, these are just not good ships. I don't think we want to have them anywhere near a battle line. Even a light cruiser. Well, they might be decent against a light cruiser, but I just don't think they'll be worth it. So we do want to keep these around because they might be a fairly good ship to convert to light carriers later on. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to send them to mothball station, so they're going to be in the lowest class of readiness, which does drastically drop their supply costs, which I appreciate very much, but that's going to be okay. And then we have all of these battleships, so the Delaware class, the New York class, the New Jersey class, and the Montana class. The Montanas are the oldest, but I think actually the weirdest ones in here are the New York class. They're only 17,000 tons, so even though they were designed apparently by the game in 1916, it's just look at those. They're in between those two ships, and they are both very much heavier ships than the New York class is. So the Delaware in particular carries 14-inch guns in a fairly good layout, so I'm happy about these ships. But these only carry 12-inch guns, so I just don't... and they're really slow. I mean, they're fairly inexpensive to hold on to, but yeah, for now I think we're going to put them in mothball situation and station, and that's going to be fine. Between the Delaware, New Jersey, and Montana, I think all of those are fairly good ships. Maybe the Montana ones are the least important because they only have 12-inch guns. And only 8 of those can actually fire in a broadside. Plus the armor isn't that great. So we'll place these guys in reserve. They will be fairly quick to mobilize, but that's going to be okay. So that does bring us down to about, well, let's call that 6 or so turns of build speed. So I think that's going to be fine. And we have adapted research a little bit. Maybe we can go down to 11%, and that will save some money. And we can spend some money on intel efforts, which might even increase tensions with the particular nations. So if we do look at the almanac, we can see that, of course, in 1920, the Great Britain is, of course, one of the strongest nations. We have 9 battleships, they have got 10, their tonnage is much higher. All of these other ships are much weaker. All of these other nations are much weaker than we are currently, at least. And in terms of battle cruisers, also, I would think the situation is somewhat similar. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to focus on France first. So we're going to spend a very high intel amount on France, hoping to escalate tensions and maybe get the intils at some point. So that being said, we're going to do one more thing. We're going to have a look at the aircraft types, because we have built our first carrier, and these are the ships, aircrafts that it could potentially carry. Those are mostly biplanes, so they're really not that great planes. And we do have a fighter, we do have a float plane scout. This is not a carrier aircraft. And we do have a flying boat, which again is not a carrier aircraft. So we only have really fighters that could go on carriers, and I would very much like to get a torpedo bomber. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. Why did we not have torpedo bombers over here? Are you considered obsolete? Oh no, okay, sorry, you're Great Britain. Okay, so we are going to request a new proposal for torpedo bombers. The first priority of these guys is going to be range, and the second priority is going to be, I think, speed, because speed means life. Could also consider toughness. Let's do toughness. Range and toughness. Yes, I think that's a good combination. So we are going to request a proposal for these torpedo bombers, and that's going to be okay. And we're going to take the turn, and we cannot continue with high research priority for shipboard aircraft operations without an operational aircraft carrier. I've been talking about that a little bit in the last episode. We are currently building our first aircraft carrier, so that I think should be fine. We can now build air bases, that's fine. We do get a couple of intel reports over here, nothing too important really. Germany building a couple of motor torpedo boat squadrons, a couple of very light ships being laid down, a couple of coastal batteries, and most importantly, this is probably the most important, in the Antilles, France is building a couple of things. But you know what, all in all, these news are not that important. I think we can take the next turn over here. Air bases in Brest, okay, all in all. I don't think we have to be too concerned about the air situation for now. Very soon we will be building up some bases all over the place. But in 1920 aircrafts weren't really that great. A couple of our ships are finishing their reconstruction, which is nice to see. So we do get a lot more aircraft over here. And a couple of those I think will be very worthwhile. So most importantly, let's have a look at the Terry class destroyers. Because these are currently not really worthwhile, but we can move them to the reserve fleet. It's going to save us a little money, really not that much, but that I think is okay. And we did get a lot of these Raleighs, the Olympia class. The Olympia class is denoted by that little A over here that has cramped accommodation, so we really shouldn't be sending it abroad. But I do think that the Raleigh class might make for a fairly good ship that we can send to foreign stations, actually. And that also means that some of you, we've sent all of these Oaklands to foreign station, but we could, for example, withdraw. Well, I think the Hopkins were the ones that were really out of date, weren't they? So yeah, I think those were, we just really overweight. So these guys we will simply sell for scrap, and that should be okay. We are still fulfilling all of our tonnage requirements. And the Dale class over here, you're actually fine in terms of weight. You do have swivel mounts, you do have decent speed. So that's pretty much all I need actually for a destroyer. So we might actually want to incur the rebuild costs over here, simply, if nothing else, to update it. Director firing is okay. Could include a single director firing position, but I don't think that's really required. So yeah, let's save that. Yes, we know that it doesn't have any fire control stations, but it's a destroyer, so it's not really that important. And of course, the second one we are also going to rebuild. We are still in the negatives with about 4 turns of funding left. Some of these will be done when the Pittsburgh class finishes, but until then I think we might hope for at least some funding increases. Great Britain is selling some ships for scrap, as is France. Nothing really too big happening. France is rebuilding a couple of things. Float paints, that's interesting, but again, not drastically so. Right, with a little bit of money left. We don't have that much in overall terms over there, so we're really a little bit short on money. But here's the first thing that we can think about in terms of events. So Italy has proposed a 5-year security arrangement between our nations. What is your advice on how to respond? We can enter an agreement, and this would benefit us both, giving us less budget and overall reducing tensions. We should seek a broader, again, similar effect, or we should avoid entanglements that will tie our foreign policy. So yes, I think this is something that we're going to take. It will increase tensions with Italy a little bit, but most importantly it's going to give us a little bit more budget, and that is very, very important. No, I do not. No, I do not. Right. And again, there doesn't seem to be that much, except that Japan is building an airbase in Tsingtao, which is okay. Ooh, Great Britain has rebuilt a battle cruiser. That is something that we do need to keep an eye on. And we do have some more budget, and I think that's a very, very good sign. Also, we should think about what we're going to do now with these Pittsburgh class heavy cruisers. We might keep them for now and hope to train them up a little bit. Their crew quality isn't that great. We should also think about the air groups. So let's think about what we can do in Philadelphia. I think we're going to send a first air unit over here, and we're going to ask there to be about 10 fighters. And I think that's going to be okay. And I think we're also going to ask for a couple of flying boats. Flying boats are pretty much scouts, so they will give us better eyes on things. And you know what, I think we can change the number of fighters to 8, and the number of flying boats to about 12. And that should give us much better recon in the vicinity of Philadelphia, so on the North American East Coast, and I think that's going to be okay. All in all, tensions aren't that great, so you can see these little bars over here, they represent tensions. The higher they are, the more likely you are to get to war. This over here would indicate war indeed. Our scientists report that they are currently baffled by the problem of advanced penetrator alloys, so that's a little bit annoying. And there's a new torpedo bomber prototype ready for evaluation. So these, we did initiate the request for proposal for torpedo bomber in the year 1920. So these are the 4 proposals that we are getting. They do have various different speeds. They're not that different actually. Max speed, cruise speed, range. I'm somewhat tempted for this one because it does have very, very high range overall. It's not that different. On the other hand, it does carry less. So the overall payload would be much lower. On the other hand, the payload on these guys is much better. The toughness on this guy and this guy is much better. But we'd also want to keep in mind the range. So yeah, it's a little bit of a balance, isn't it? I think probably you have a very good range, decent toughness, good heavy bomber load. So we're going to go with the Grumman Groshok, a torpedo bomber. That's going to be fine. Very nice. Right, we're still running a deficit, but it might actually be alright. In not that many turns we are going to get 2 more battleships of the Arizona class, which do have 10-15 inch guns. So I'm very, very much looking forward to those. So one going to come in 7 month, one in 14, and in 6 months we're also going to get our light carrier. So yeah, hopefully that's going to be alright. A couple of ships finishing their refurbishment. We only have 2 turns of funding left, which isn't great. Research breakthrough, that's very nice. So we have gotten a breakthrough over here in ship design, a magazine box protection, so that is a different armor layout, which is going to be extremely useful. Yeah, but now our money is running out. We only have 1.9 million and we are spending 1.8, so we are very, very close to actually completely running out. So what we're going to do is hold the construction on the Arizona itself, and that is going to free up quite a bit of money, and I think that's going to be okay for a second. Here's an event in October 1920. A regional war seems imminent in South America. One of our major arms manufacturers wants to step up exports to the likely belligerents. We should avoid a strong arms industry. And of course I'm going to go for the strong arms industry because it's going to give us more funding. And actually tensions aren't that bad. Actually tensions with the Soviet Union would be great. I would love to go to war with the Soviets. Right. In about 3 months we'll be getting light carriers, which I'm going to appreciate very much. And we're getting a new government in 1920. A new government wants to reduce naval spending in favor of social programs. What do we comment? And of course we comment that is really not that great. We want to get the Navy to protect us and get more budget. Do we get more budget? Well, not that much. At least we are building up a little bit of... Ooh... So Germany wants to build more battle cruisers. Germany has built a heavy cruiser. And we have getting some delays for the construction of, reconstruction of the Michigan, I should say. Well, that's unfortunate. You know what, in the meantime we can design a new ship, and it's going to be a very inexciting ship. It's simply going to be a corvette. And we're going to auto design a new ship as a corvette. So this is what the game suggests to us. It has 5-inch guns, which isn't pretty high actually. It's of a displacement of 900 tons. It does not have some mines, but it does have some anti-submarine warfare capabilities, so that would be great. It's actually what I'm looking for. Doesn't have minesweeping gear, but that's fine. All in all, the weight remaining. I don't think this is even a legal design. We might want to use coal. Rate of fire will be negatively affected. A displacement of 1,100 tons is recommended for 5-inch guns. So we might actually want to go a little bit lower here with the caliber. And that would actually be a good ship. That would be a legal ship, even though it's seriously overweight. Sorry, underweight actually. So it has a displacement of 900 tons and we have 400 tons remaining. So we could fill that up with guns, but I'm more mindful of maybe keeping down the costs. So the overall cost would be 1.5 million, which isn't that high. But on the other hand, if we were to use oil, it would go up a little, but of course the weight would go down, which is not something that we do need. Can we go lower here with the weight? I wonder. So even a 200-ton ship would actually work. Small corvettes during peacetime is impossible. I think you have to be at least 500 tons. 600 tons? Yes. Okay, so 600 tons would actually work. And this is again even less expensive than the one that we saw earlier. So I think that's going to be okay. We might want to add another gun. Let's see whether we can find that. Forward center line, single turret. Would that be legal? No. Okay, let's delete that. Let's check it. It's fine. Let's update the ship graphic. It's a little bit weird. But you know what? I think it's fine. Okay. All in all, not an impressive ship by any means. It's mostly a workhorse. Can we? Yeah, let's upgrade the speed here a little bit. Not too much. And this is fine. This is the Kingfisher class. We're gonna save that. And we are going to ask our ship designers to take that into account. That's fine. We are close to mastering 20mm automatic cannon. That's nice to see. And our new torpedo bomber is ready for construction. and we can build our Kingfishers now. I think I'm gonna build about 10 of those for a monthly build cost of nearly $1 million. I'd say 12. And here we go. That should be fine. France rebuilding the Richelieu. We might also actually want to check on our battleships. So firstly, the Delaware class, the North Dakota, Delaware, New Mexico. Let's see whether we can rebuild them. And I think we can rebuild them with an improved director. Increased elevation, all in all, still a decent design. And I think the rebuild cost would go up significantly. If we change any of this, yes, they would go very significantly actually. Well, more ammo. I think that's not in the cards because of the weight. Can we clear these torpedo mounts? I think they are a really bad idea. Simply because if they are around, you will be much more prone to any sort of attack by anything really. They are mostly a danger on your ship. We could build up a couple of AA guns over here. I think 50 should be possible. Not quite. Don't quite have to wait for that. Let's say 48 light anti-aircraft guns. Nope. 44. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, I think this is a fairly good. Just the improved director will give you a lot more accuracy. So we're gonna rebuild the Delaware to the standard. It's just gonna cost us $1 million monthly, and it's gonna take 4 months. So we can even do that to 2 of these ships at the same time. Yeah, we are at a slight deficit now, but I think that's going to be okay. And here we go, we have the Michigan. And we also get an event. One of our cruisers has run aground on the shores of a minor nation while performing illicit intelligence operations, and that must be either France or the Soviet Union. They threaten to impound the ship. What is our reaction? So we can ask them to release the ship. We can offer sincere apologies, or we can let them examine the ship. I think that we want to be very aggressive over here. This is going to potentially push up the tensions over there. France has commissioned a battleship. Interesting. France is getting some mines. Also interesting. And yeah, so tensions are coming up here, and with the Soviet Union we might actually be somewhat close to war. But most importantly, I do want to have a look at the Michigan over here. So in particular, it should have an air group, shouldn't it? Yeah, so it can carry 20 aircraft. Let's add an air unit to that, and I think we're going to add, let's call it 8 fighters and 12 torpedo bombers. So there we go. Here we are. First aircraft on a ship. And we can, on the research panel, now I think go for ship aircraft operations and give this a high priority. And that should be okay. So that will allow us to research that a little bit more quickly, and I think that should hopefully give us some benefit in that regard. Torpedo bomber squadron has re-equipped, fighter has been re-equipped, so that's all very nice to see. Pretty dandy actually. So a couple of our ships are rebuilding. We could think about restarting the construction of the Arizona itself. Might be a little bit too early. Yeah, we wouldn't really be able to do that, but maybe let's hold the Colorado then for a while, just to switch things up a little bit. Ooh, another nice research breakthrough. Turrets and gun mountings, improved power training and elevations, eliminates rate of fire penalty for guns below 8 inches in turrets. Good. I think this would only apply to new ships, but all in all it's good. Of course we can't build really big new ships due to the constraints that we are facing right now, but all in all it's okay. We're getting some intelligence reports. So a new ship is construction of class Whittier. Really? I can't imagine that the Germans are building a pre-dreadnought battleship at this time. Ooh, because they might have to because of the constrictions due to the Versailles Treaty. That'd be very interesting. North Dakota and New Mexico have finished their reconstruction. France is actually, we are getting some intel reports over here. And that is that Some delays all in all. Great Britain commissioning a lot of new ships. And France is building 30 knot heavy cruiser. Interesting. 12-inch main guns on the Corbeil. And the Brieux. Yeah, we knew that. Interesting. Let's look at the almanac for a second. So, by now Great Britain has 2 more dreadnoughts than we do, of quite some tonnage. Also building more battle cruisers, pretty much twice our tonnage. Yeah. On the other hand, France, we are a little bit superior to them, so that's nice to see. And do we want to resume over here? Oh, we're just not able to do that, I think. Maybe next turn. Machinery development, also nice to see. Hull construction, also nice to see. And we now have the ability to do carrier conversion, so that's going to be extremely interesting. We can now convert a normal ship to a carrier, and I think that is something that we're going to have a look at very soon. We're going to resume the construction of the Colorado. We are now again, of course, running a deficit, but in 2 turns the Arizona is going to be commissioned, and that's going to be great. Right, until then we see that a couple of our ships are by now considered obsolete, so we will have to do some upgrades on them, or well, maybe phase them out. But that is something that I think we're going to look at next time. For now, I'm very, very happy about our first light cruiser, the Michigan, with its 20 aircraft and speed of 20 knots, which actually isn't that bad. So, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I do hope to see you next time. Do leave a like and all of that if you want, of course. Otherwise, yeah, very much looking forward to. Bye bye.